Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, people of Earth, wherever you may be on this crazy rock spinning through space. How are you doing? Are you playing Squid games yet? I bet some of you are. I haven't quite got to the stage where I'm getting the tracksuit, but it won't be long. The people who are playing Squid games all over planet Earth are migrants and refugees. They haven't got the tracksuit either, but we should get them the tracksuit so that when we see their drowned bodies washed up on the beach, we appreciate that they did it for our entertainment. You know, when when they're dying, when they're crushed by a train in the Channel Tunnel, or they're you know, they drown in the Rio Grande, wearing the tracksuit will just, you know, remind us how we are the privileged viewer of their torture, abuse and humiliation. Squid games, yeah. I love the Squid games metaphor. They say it was social commentary for the people of Korea, but I don't think so. The people in Korea have an awful lot of choice and an awful lot of opportunity. I guess, you know, it's only a small margin that separates them from, you know, Afghanis, Iraqis, Sudanese, Eritreans. Like I say, I'm not there yet, and you might not be either, but we're all going there. Squid games for all should be the title of this video, not just for migrants. Good morning, Stephen Williams. Yeah, yesterday nearly 1,000 migrants crossed the English Channel. Woo! They made it across the channel. The first part of Squid games involves surviving in your own country, which may be hot, tyrannical, dangerous, and, you know, otherwise unhealthy for you. The next part of the next Squid game you play is get the fuck out of here. And if I lived in Afghanistan, Eritrea, Sudan, you know, Syria, places like that, I'd be playing get the fuck out of here as well. So we should send them some tracksuits to identify them, and we can see more clearly what it is they're playing. The prize for winning Squid games, if you are a refugee who makes it to one of the, you know, countries that might give you refuge, is not necessarily life at all. You're just exchanging like one form of torture for another. Aye, is it marked? Ah, that's cool, man. No problem. I just had somebody bump into my car. It's not actually my car. It's my wife's car. I don't really give a fuck about things. But the guy, you know, he's got a small child. He's harried and having a tough day. So I sympathise with him. Anyway, he's playing Squid games. His game at the moment is get the child home safely or my wife will kill me. So yeah, get the refugees and migrants the tracksuit. And then we can all enjoy, you know, when they're washed up dead on the beach, or a Sudanese refugee recently died falling through a roof in Britain as he was being chased by the police. I'd pay good money to watch that. You know, it's got to be better than Strictly Ballroom or The X Factor or Britain's Got Talent. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Migrant Squid Games. On tonight's show, Mohammed will attempt to run away from the immigration police. He was denied sanctuary. His application for refugee status and asylum was denied, and the immigration police came to put him on a plane. So, you know, the Squid game is afoot. So he ran away from the immigration police, and in running away from them, he tried to cross one of those corrugated roofs, and he fell through it to his death. Bing! You know, put his share of the loot in the jackpot for the rest of the migrants. Over 900 migrants made it across the English Channel yesterday. Woo! I'd love to see them streaming ashore in their turquoise tracksuits, whooping it up, giving high fives, as they then enter the next Squid game, which is incarcerated in an asylum seeker camp. The next Squid game is form filling for your life, a kind of bureaucratic Like, what's that? A bureaucratic Russian roulette. What's the answer to question 6A? How much tyranny were you under? Was your life in danger? Everybody's life's in danger. Everybody's life's in danger. It's just degrees. Speaking of degrees, Greta Thunberg. There's no cup holders in this car. It's rubbish. I have to putting it in the glove box. Fuck's sake. Greta Thunberg. She's furious at COP26. Why? Surely she's not disappointed. Surely she predicted it was blah, 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 blah. I mean, come on, Greta. You know the score. This was a fashion parade. This, from the outset, was an opportunity for love bombing and selfies for world leaders to say to their own people, look, we're on it, we're on it. We get you vote for the Green Party. We get that you're concerned. Look, we're doing green things. Look, here we all are. We're at a conference where people do green things. Do you see? Do you see? Just plug that in. Yeah, I'm not disappointed at all. She's furious. No one else is furious. I've got a list here of people who are not furious. Science is not furious, or at least according to this paper, science isn't furious. But if you actually go on the internet and look around, you'll find plenty of scientists who are actually shitting themselves. Society, the masses, not really disappointed, not really furious. What's Greta going to do now that she's furious, along with the thousands of other school children who protested yesterday? Bit of door slamming, not eat your tea, stamp your feet a little. I wonder what is the solution, Greta? Greta's the only person on your side in terms of the climate. Honestly, there's nobody else. It's Greta versus climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's title fight. In the first round, in the blue corner, Greta Thunberg, teenage autistic suffering Scandinavian pouter. And in the red corner, the giant conglomerate of corporate planet fuckers, weighing in at 2,400 billion tons of CO2, 300 years of unopposed heavyweight title victories, versus Greta Thunberg. It's more blah, 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 blah. What's Greta Thunberg going to do? Sanctions? Eh? What's she going to do? Scowl? Oh, I mean, she does that already. Really, I have no issue with Greta Thunberg. My issue is with the framing of this the framing of the most devastating and dangerous set of circumstances human civilization and trees have ever faced on planet Earth. And your options are Greta Thunberg versus everybody else. Really? Well, we don't have a climate science, gang, a gang of climate scientists with heavy clubs of knowledge, reason, rationale, scientific fact. We don't have that. Nope, it's Greta versus the fucking climate. Slam my door. I'll scream and scream and scream until you fix the climate. Really. Food prices rise to highest levels in a decade. Squid Games, anyone? Your Squid Game today is to make your minimum wage job pay enough to warm your home and feed your children. That's your Squid Game. Get the fucking tracksuit. I might just get the tracksuit actually and just walk about in it. I hear that they're actually struggling to make enough, and that they employ sweat labor in Bangladesh that's really bad for the planet. I can't wait. There's a corruption scandal in Britain because the Tory party tried to rewrite laws about investigating corruption so that they were the only party who investigated corruption for themselves. And there's quite a lot written here about it. A lot of hindsight pish. But there's a great piece by Patrick Coburn which we'll get to. Here's a double page on what's happening at the Flop 26. Here's some headlines. Ultra rich urged to cut their personal CO2 emissions. What kind of urging do you think that is? Go on, please. Would you? Would you? Do you mind? Because it turns out that 1% of the world's people are responsible for 50% of the emissions. I know. It does seem a little imbalanced, doesn't it? It does seem a little imbalanced. That's another Squid Game. You have to fucking freeze and go hungry so they can continue to fly to Biarritz and have 6 homes and drive a fucking V8 Bentley. And that's your Squid. Then none of the ultra rich are wearing Squid's Game tracksuits. They're the people in the strange masks, obviously, urged to cut their personal CO2 emissions. The study indicates a tiny elite of ultra-rich people appear to have a free pass to pollute. No, you don't mean there's one rule for them and another for us, do you? You don't mean that a few wealthy people rule over us with no trouble at all, and our best hope for saving them is a pouty, door-slamming teenager? Really? That's the fucking contest? The stakes are high. Bring on the small child. In the corners, the 7-headed monster from Hades. Bring on the small child. Really? Oh, dear. Cover story. Thunberg attacks COP26 for refusing to take climate action. She said, immediate, drastic annual emission cuts, unlike anything the world has ever seen, is what is needed to deal with climate change. That's true. That's a fact. And so you're not getting that. But that is a fact. That is what is needed. And so, you know, hats off to Greta for hitting the nail on the head there before, you know, she goes to do her homework. She's a busy girl. She can't save the world all on her own. Perhaps you would like to recycle some garbage along with her and, you know, like make a poster about polar bears or something. I don't know. It might help. Probably not. Definitely not. It's not going to help at all. You're fucked. Did I mention how fucked you are? You know, I often forget to mention exactly how fucked we are, but we are totally fucked. And the people who own and control everything of value on this planet are killing us at this moment. They are. They're killing us slowly with their love for themselves, their lifestyles, and their control over our affairs. They're killing ourselves with stupidity, greed, ineptness, and maleficence. That is the sort of, they don't really give a fuck about us. And I think if a scientist whispers in your ear and you're one of the elite 1% who own and control everything of value on this planet Earth, the scientist says, a lot of people have got to die. And they nod sagely, yes. I do believe you're right, Professor. I do believe you're right. A lot of people have got to die. The education minister, because Greta did a march yesterday with children, they took time off school. A lot of them have already missed a lot of school due to the coronavirus outbreak in Britain. But the education secretary, Nadhim Zahawi, who voted for the Conservatives rewriting the corruption laws in favour of their party investigating themselves, said, I do not support young people missing school to join protests. I would urge children, more urging, go on, please. I would urge children not to miss school, not to miss class. We don't want to get into a situation where teachers and head teachers are having to issue fines for missing education. I should say that young children, young people who are educated enough to know that the climate is a real existential threat to their well-being are fucking pretty well educated, Mr. Nazim Zahay. You know, and you might do well, if you're education minister, to thank them for stepping up to the plate and being so well informed as to know that it's important. Oh, here's a piece. Small steps to salvation. All right. The Green Heroes. Asma Day is the journalist of this piece of fucking rubbish. People frustrated by political inaction on climate change are taking matters into their own hands. Or are they hanging them from lampposts? You know, rampaging through the streets, tearing down the oil refineries, you know, trashing cars? No. Some people dismiss small steps from individuals as being too insignificant. There's a whole fucking page of this. They are litter picking and clothes swapping. Really? Litter picking and clothes swapping. I'll leave you to make your own judgment about how much greenhouse gas will be removed from the atmosphere when you swap your fucking Primark Bangladeshi t-shirt for a Walmart Tesco's fucking pair of training shoes. None. Litter picking. Really? Litter picking. I don't we pay the council for that? I toss my coffee cups out of the window just to keep the council in a job. I do. I pay my council tax. It's supposed to employ council services. They stopped picking up my rubbish from my house properly. And they gave me 6 different bins to recycle everything from fucking garden waste to food. And then, you know, they want people to save the planet by picking up litter. It seems unlikely picking up litter. I tell you what, I see some litter around me. Tesco's, the fucking McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken. There's a BMW over there. We should pick up some litter and put it in the bin. You know, speaking as a society. One in 3 people, since people started working from home, are being watched at work. That's not the worst of it, I swear. I mean, you know, if you're working from home, you have to reasonably expect your employer to monitor every keystroke of your laptop and have the webcam open so they can keep an eye on you and see which porn you're watching when you're supposed to be checking the invoices for last month. But it's worse than that. It's much worse than that. If you're working from home, it's probably a teenage supervisor that's got the job of looking out for you. It really is. You're probably being overlooked by fucking Mandy, who's 19. And she got the job of, you know, keeping an eye on you because the boss is playing golf with a Tory MP who he's slipping an envelope to see if he can get a contract to make PPE, even though his business is actually fucking double glazing, because that's how that shit works. COVID Delta Plus. I know, it sounds like a cold cure, but it's actually the next strain of coronavirus. COVID Delta Plus. Infections have increased 35% over the past week in the UK. Funny thing about the news now, it's all about cases. I don't know if you've noticed that where you are. Cases, cases, cases. We don't need no stinking cases. Deaths are not going up, but cases are. That's because the coronavirus is now firmly entrenched in the animal reservoir of humanity. It's here to stay forever and ever and ever and ever. Does anybody remember that song by Demis Roussos? Forever and ever and ever and ever we'll have COVID. Because we will. It's here to stay. Get used to it. I'd rush out and catch it if I were you. Don't have the jab though. Speaking of coronavirus, there's a pill here. It cuts the risk of serious illness by 90%. The UK's medicine regulator has begun assessing Pfizer's antiviral pill. It's not a vaccine. It doesn't do anything to your RNA. It contains no part, not even a protein spike of the coronavirus. It just stops viruses, right? It stops viruses, or this particular virus, from replicating. It's been specially designed. It's been designed to block an enzyme the virus needs in order to multiply. That's interesting, isn't it? It's usually used to treat AIDS. Sorry? Let's go over that again, because it may seem slightly confusing at first or at worst. Pfizer is releasing a pill which will cut the risk of serious illness from coronavirus by 90%. And it's not actually, part of it is not a new drug. Part of it has actually been used to treat HIV and AIDS. It stays in the body for a long time. 3 pills are taken twice a day for 5 days. AIDS treatment? An AIDS treatment for COVID-19? Wait a minute, something's coming back to me. Beep, 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 beep. Couple of things are coming back to me. Beep, 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 beep. Oh wait, my spidey senses are tingling. I'm remembering Nobel laureate Luc Montagnier, discoverer of the HIV virus, who was awarded the Nobel Prize in 2008. I'm remembering that in January of 2019, he announced quickly that COVID was made in a laboratory, which is now proven to be absolutely true. He further said that having had a look at it, it contained elements of AIDS and malaria, which is odd, isn't it? That an airborne AIDS and malaria virus should be being, created in a laboratory for some reason. I don't know why they would do that. Some sort of Squid Game, perhaps? Your Squid Game today is not to catch airborne AIDS. Furthermore, the Australian government funded a vaccine production in their country, and during trials they had to stop it. They had to stop the trials of the Australian government's vaccine project because the people on the trial were producing antibodies for AIDS. You can Google all this shit. I mean, not that anybody gives a fuck, right? But here's what's been happening on planet Earth. A laboratory funded by America, partly funded by the man who's in charge of America's medical bodies, Dr. Fauci, the chief medical officer, the man who advises America about medicine. A secret laboratory in China, the world's most secretive, tyrannical country on earth, was paid by America and Americans, if you like, to develop a dangerous disease that infects humans with something like AIDS through a respiratory tract. That's amazing, that, isn't it? Subsequently, a number of pharmaceutical companies have magically been able to produce vaccines and other treatments for this airborne disease, which will be with us forever and ever and ever, and will require you to receive injections, probably if you're scared about it, forever and ever and ever. Your Squid Game today is how many jabs can you take before you go, what? So let's go over that again. The antiviral pill released by Pfizer is usually used to treat AIDS, and it's now being used to treat coronavirus, which Luc Montagnier, a Nobel Prize-winning scientist, said was made in a laboratory and contains elements of AIDS. Something to think about when you're, next time you're not stringing somebody up from a lamppost or fighting the man. Not that any of that would do any good. The UN has put up £1 million to protect gene banks in emergencies. The UN Crop Trust will spend £1 million protecting gene banks around the world against damage from natural disasters, outbreaks of pests, equipment failures and wars. $1 million, that is. Sorry, $1 million. I reckon, I reckon $1 million is like the coffee bill from Crufts. Honestly, $1 million. I think, there are people. Jeff Bezos sleeps in, and he loses $1 million every 5 minutes he's late getting up. Record numbers of migrants cross the channel. Blah blah blah. It eclipses the previous daily record of 828. Migrants from Eritrea died, struck by a train. Nice, that'd look good, wouldn't it? 21,000 migrants have crossed the channel so far. Campaigners and aid charities have repeatedly called for this to be on television so we can at least derive some entertainment from their suffering and desperate plight. I'd watch that shit. Go, paddle faster, your boat's sinking. Can you swim? Can your children swim? Throw them overboard, lighten the load. It's a Squid Game. And here's a story, a culture war story. It's about racism. And the head of Yorkshire Cricket, there's been accusations that the Yorkshire Cricket team are racist. Reading between the lines, it would appear to be because they use the word Paki when describing people from Pakistan. It doesn't sound too bad, does it? Are you from Pakistan? Are you a Paki then? That like saying, are you from Scotland then? Are you a Scot? Is Scot racist? What about Yank? Yank, is that racist? Kiwi, Aussie, Aitai, Frog, Rusky, Chinky. Are these actually racist? Do the people who use these words plan to discriminate negatively against an entire... Not that there is any such thing as a human race. These are nationalities. So racism has become actually a misused word to mean racial prejudice. But it's odd, isn't it, when they have the World Cup and the Euro Championships and we all want to fucking beat Germany at football. Or, you know, you're cheering on your own sprinter who's an American from Jamaica, originally from Africa. So racially, there's basically Africans competing for the national pride of the nations of the West. Mostly, isn't it? You know, the long jump, the high jump, the sprint, the 400 and 800 meters. The BBC is reviewing Michael Vaughan's role as a pundit after it was claimed he used a racist epithet, Packy. His comments were alleged to have been made in 2009 while he was a player at Yorkshire in the dressing room, probably say, come on, let's get out there and fucking beat these Packies. Like, something like that. Surely we could have something more, surely we could have something more to go on. I personally don't care if you're from Pakistan. You could be from Pakistan and be a really nice, sane, rational person, perhaps a climate scientist or a teenager like Greta Thunberg who cares about polar bears. But see, if you're a Muslim, I don't care if you're from fucking Kent and Surrey. If you're a Muslim, you're a nutter. If you're a Christian, you're a nutter. And if you're a Jew, you're a nutter. So I'm holding out hope that we're still allowed to call people who believe crazy things crazy. I don't really care what your nationality is, except to say that if you think you are British or Irish or Scottish, you're missing an opportunity to be a human. Just saying. Speaking of racism, there's a ballet company here. It's cracking down on racist stereotypes in productions. And but they're going to have a problem because in Swan Lake, it's definitely a black swan, isn't it? I mean, no, I'm only vaguely familiar with Swan Lake, but pretty sure it's a black swan. Look forward to the Rainbow Swan production in the ballet. Media news, Richard Desmond. Anyone familiar with Richard Desmond? Channel 5, and once upon a time, he ran all the porn channels on Sky Television. He keeps editing his Wikipedia to say that he's not a pornographer, that he is in fact a philanthropist. But the last time I checked, a philanthropist did not mean somebody who provides erotic material for wankers. That's a pornographer. You know, I mean, pretty much that's what a pornographer is. Somebody who makes available erotic material for people to masturbate to. And so, Richard Desmond, you are... you're either a wanker or a pornographer. Maybe you're both. Maybe he gets off on his own porn. I don't know. Let's get to the corruption thing in the UK. Patrick Coburn occasionally writes some interesting stuff. We could slip into being a corrupt country, said the former head of MI5. We could. We could. As the government of your country, right, to protect one of its members, voted to change the laws on how we investigate corruption and make them retrospective, so that their friend, who was accused of corruption and found to be guilty of corruption, wouldn't be prosecuted. We could slip into corruption? Really? It goes on. Once upon a time, David Cameron, who was Prime Minister of this country, after he left, made £10 million lobbying the government for Greensill Capital, who then went bust. Because it turned out they were kind of a sort of edgy, scammy, corrupt fucking company. But David Cameron, former Prime Minister, who actually, when he came to power, said, we've got to do something about lobbying. I don't think anybody knew when he said, we've got to do something about lobbying. I don't think anybody knew what he meant was, so I can make lots of money. But that is apparently what he meant. Let's see now. People of Britain. Here's the bill, right? 22 billion, right? Of contracts for coronavirus related produce supplies. 11 billion of that, half of it, went to companies run by friends and associates of the Conservative Party and their politicians with no prior experience or history of producing material or products that the contract was for. That's 11 billion to friends, associates, family members of politicians in the Conservative Party. Sounds pretty corrupt. I mean, if you were worried, not that you give a fuck. I mean, what are you going to do about it anyway? Slam the door? Pout? What are we going to do about it? Nothing! Nothing. Get Netflix on. Order a pizza. Life is good, right? At least you're not drowning in the channel or falling through a corrugated roof as the fucking migration police chase you out of the country. We're fine. We've already crossed the line in Squid Games. Speaking of, entertainment and death, I should just like to give a shout out for Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin, who, recently was horrified when he was handed a loaded gun and he managed to shoot the woman who was directing the filming, the cinematography of that scene. Now, the more details come to light, the more I'm impressed. Alec Baldwin cross draws a fucking Western revolver. They're heavy and inaccurate at the best of times. I reckon you'd stand a pretty poor chance of hitting a car at 20 paces with one of these guns. He cross draws. Alec Baldwin cross draws the gun, whips it out, fires off a shot, bang, kills her, dead, like a stone, drops her like a fucking sack of potatoes. Alec, yeah. Have you ever thought of changing your career? Maybe you're the reincarnation of Wild Bill Hickok. And so, more Squid Games. If it wasn't apparent already, I shall lay out what exactly is happening. Every refugee who enters Russia is put on a bus and taken to the border of Europe. Every single one. This is what happens wherever you are in the world. Get to Russia, right? Because as soon as you get to Russia, the troops be like putting you on a bus, giving you the fucking Squid Games tracksuit, and then they take you to the border with Europe and push you over. Go play games in Europe. Go play Squid Games in Europe. Because Russia wants us to bear the cost and take care of all these crazy Muslims. Russia doesn't want to pay for or take care of any crazy Muslims. So any crazy Muslims who make it to Russia, they put on a bus, they give them a tracksuit, and then they catapult them over the fucking fence, which is going up everywhere. Poland's building a fence between itself and Belarus, who's an ally of Putin, who catapults refugees, migrants, crazy Muslim people over the border all day long. The borders of Latvia, Lithuania and Estonia are being reinforced with NATO troops to stop Russia at night just sending like maze runners across the border into Poland. Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia. And further south, Greece. Greece is getting a lot of stick, but nobody's mentioning it in the news for, puncturing the boats and building a fence between itself and, I forget the country. It's one of those non-European Eastern Bloc ones. I'll have to have a look at a map. So while we spent all that time slagging off Donald Trump for his plans to build a wall, Europe's building a wall. In fact, the razor wire fence has been going up for years. I've been talking about it for years. We are going to put the razor wire up all round our cozy little Western bubble, and then we're going to watch the contestants of fucking global Squid Games die, motherfuckers. Die in the heat and the famine and the cold and the developing world wastelands that we created, we benefit from, and we are living off. And why Donald Trump got a lot of stick for that, I don't know. Because since Let's Go Brandon came to power, Joe Biden, since he came to power, he sent more migrants back to where they came from in the last year than Donald Trump did in any 1 year. And in fact, he's going to keep doing that because he knows that electorally, the Democrats will not get re-elected in America if they allow unfettered immigration into America. Because nobody wants those Mexicans, those Haitians, those Guatemalans, or those Hondurans. Let them die where they are while we watch on TV and place bets on who might make it. Hey, somebody made it. Give them a job cleaning my home, washing my car. Somebody made it. Congratulations, you made it to Britain. Now get down on your knees and praise the Queen. All right, what we got here? I think we're about done. Off-grid homes. Yeah. All your homes will be off-grid soon. That's like, I know. You won't have to wait. You know, like in the past, all those people who were like into green living, those people with solar panels and windmills in their garden in some remote location in peninsula of Scotland or Alaska, just wait a while. You'll be like that. You and your off-grid home. You know, I don't know how long. Can't really predict time, except it's coming. As surely as the next game is coming, and you will be playing. I hope you're going to have a great day today, and I hope you're winning. I hope you're winning whatever game you're playing. That you're warm, well-fed, and that you have a roof over your head. Because that's as good as this shit gets. Anything that you imagine that is on top of that is just cream. It really is. So I hope you are living high on the fucking hog and having a great time, because today is as good as it's going to get. And tomorrow is going to suck just a bit more. Maybe a lot. Probably a lot, actually. Thanks for watching. See you soon.